All right, Olivia, thank you very much. Well, Hamilton County has been continuously growing and changing. Just in the month of July, the county has slated funding to revitalize local parks and gathering spaces across the community.
That's right. Hamilton County Commission also unanimously approved joint funding with Hamilton County Schools to build a new gym facility and help with other school improvements. Now,
joining us this morning to discuss these new changes and topics, of course, is Hamilton County Mayor Wamp. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Glad to be with you.
So we have been talking a lot on ARC Chattanooga about how much this city, this county has been growing, especially over these last few years, these last couple of months even. We have a long list, I guess, of topics we want to talk about in terms of growth. I want to start with schools because I know more than $40 million has been invested in schools since January. The top of our headlines recently have been McConnell Elementary School, that new gym facility. What do you think was the straw that broke the camel's back to say, you know, now's the time to hop on this project, now's the time to really put our focus, our efforts into McConnell?
Well, I think in this case, it was probably our office stepping forward and saying we really should honor the schools that are doing the job really well. But to your point, a lot of times you get excited in a time of growth about what's new, and you forget to take care of the things in your community that have made it what it is in the first place. And in my experience, I grew up near McConnell. I went to Big Ridge, which is sort of the school zone next to it. And McConnell's one of the best schools in the South. It's as good an elementary school as you could hope for your kids to go to, but they don't have any proper area for kids to do PE if it's raining. And so they had kind of squeezed and gotten creative. They had made their PE space a classroom. And so, when school's in session on Tuesdays, I eat lunch at schools and talk to teachers and kids and principals and try to understand where the needs are and where the opportunities are. And I think sometimes in a community like ours, again, we're addressing growth issues. We may be addressing the real challenges in some of our most dangerous or poorest neighborhoods. We should be doing those things, but we should never in the process forget to double down on our communities that are really doing it right. McConnell's one of those. The investments we're making at East Hamilton, on the Signal Mountain, Soddy Daisy, these are examples of us saying, okay, we're going to go and run to the fire in the communities that are really struggling, but we're not going to forget to invest in and honor the really great work that's going on across our community.
I know that students, faculty, and staff there are super excited to be able to have this facility finally. Just a space, obviously, there's mental and physical benefits for students to have that designated space. Now, at this point, is there a timeline for construction for this new facility at McConnell?
All these projects move a little slower than you wish they would, but this one won't be bad. I mean, what you do here is you go through a pretty quick design phase. It's a relatively simple structure. The county's built facilities like this recently, and it's one of a whole lot of different investments. You mentioned $40 million. These are not the big ticket items. We've got major school construction. We've got a huge announcement coming about our very creative plans for a new elementary school in the heart of Hickson. We're working towards a full renovation of Brainerd High School. Soddy Daisy Middle School is we're gonna see renderings of the new Soddy Daisy Middle School soon. We've got a new technical school downtown. That $40 million is what I would describe as doing the small things well. That's been a kind of a common theme of ours before we even launched into big projects in our tenure in office. We made a point to try to do the small things well, and our hunch was if we would, that people would trust us to take on big projects, right? I mean, I think we've talked about this before, people have a very reasonable suspicion, if not cynicism, of government. And so we started by saying, we're gonna take better care of parks, we're gonna spruce things up, we're gonna go make sure that we fix leaky roofs and improve playgrounds at schools, and when we can take on a bigger item like a gym at a school that should have had it, we wanna be connected enough with the disparate communities and the very different communities of Hamilton County that we can address these small needs so that when we bring a really big visionary project, they'll trust us to be able to lead well.
Yeah, well, those small needs can make a really big difference in the long run. Sort of on that note, I want to switch gears a bit to park grants. I know that you introduced the county funding up to $250,000, also matched by the participating communities in park funding. If you could just talk a little bit more about that. Was that inspired at all by Chattanooga becoming becoming North America's first national park city. What was sort of the push for that?
Well, I mean, listen, we have focused on blocking and tackling, right? So we've made historic investments in capital roads projects. We're repaving more county roads than the county ever has. We're investing in public safety in significant ways. We brought funding for 4 new ambulances yesterday. So most of our time is spent blocking and tackling. But to the point of doing small things well and making sure that we're leaning into our great communities, we had this idea that the county has a role to play alongside the small towns of Hamilton County, not just Chattanooga. The county's been a partner with the city of Chattanooga on parks for decades. We co-manage the Riverwalk 50/50. The county manages the largest park in the city of Chattanooga. Enterprise South Nature Park is managed by Hamilton County Parks and Recreation. So there's this long-standing partnership between the county and the city of Chattanooga. But what about these other communities? And Hannah, the interesting thing I would argue about, and others have made this exact point about the National Park City designation, which of course is not it's not connected to national park. Yeah. It's a sort of a marketing thing. But the reason that Chattanooga can lay claim to that is in many ways because of the small towns around Chattanooga, right? If you think about what are the iconic assets of this area, you're really talking about Lookout Mountain, Signal Mountain, Soddy Gulf, most of the lake, right? This is a big lake community, but most of the lake is out in the county. So if you really think about where are the recreational assets, where are the green spaces in this community, they're not actually in the city of Chattanooga. I mean, some would even argue that Chattanooga is a town in a park, but the park in a lot of ways is Hamilton County and those small towns of Hamilton County. And so we know that people when they visit here, and certainly some of the great communities to grow up in here, are communities like Walden, right, where the pumpkin patch is this huge asset for kids who don't not just live up on Signal Mountain or in Walden, but people from across the country and across the community go there. And so we saw an opportunity as we were making investments in gyms and playgrounds. We're doing a new really awesome playground at Hardy Elementary. Let's partner with our friends in the small towns of Hamilton County and trust them to guide county investment into their assets. And so that's where the idea came from.
And for those small towns, the city of Lakeside, town of Lookout Mountain, Soddy Daisy, Holly Park, and the town of Walden are the first to see the benefits of this program. Can you kind of talk about what the criteria was to decide which towns and which areas that you were going to focus on first?
Well, we opened the program to all of the small towns. So every town there's 9 municipalities other than the city of Chattanooga and Hamilton County. We didn't play favorites at all. Everybody had access to the same amount of money. We were a little more friendly in terms of how the grant match worked with the really small towns. So Lakeside got to participate like Walden did at a different ratio. We basically matched one of their dollars with 2. Otherwise, for Soddy Daisy, for example, we were asking for $1 from the city, and then we would put in $1 from the county. And we trusted our friends in local government. We worked really closely with all the small towns. I don't doubt at all that Eastridge and Collegedale will be bringing us proposals soon. But it was exciting to see even a town as small as Lakeside, step up to participate. And then certainly when you start talking about Lookout Mountain or Walden, these are communities that they have major tourism impact to our community, and they're drivers of quality of life. And that's why I think one of the temptations in a town that's growing is to get too excited and spend too much of our attention on what's new and what's next. You got to make sure that you're taking care of the things that make your community a wonderful place to live.
Switching gears again here, you recently proposed about $2.8 million for EMS, volunteer fire departments as well. We've been seeing a lot recently. We actually just did a story about a letter from a Chattanooga police officer who resigned due to lack of pay, went to Hamilton County Sheriff's Office there to work there because he said he wasn't getting paid enough. I know, obviously, a lot of these volunteer fire departments, they're not necessarily paid, it's volunteer. Mm-hmm. But what spurred that money? What spurred that? Was it wanting to retain more people? Was it what you were just talking about in terms of focusing on what we already have, improving that rather than focusing on what's new?
Well, a couple things there. Let me say first, a lot of people wonder how, because for the 3rd year in a row we brought a budget without a tax increase. At the same time, we have increased paramedic pay in county government. I've worked with the sheriff to increase the pay for deputies substantially. So how has the county done that while the city and other municipalities have relied on tax increases to do that? And I would just say, ideologically, we look at it a little differently. We have tried and challenged ourselves to do more with less. We are suspicious, honestly, of government, even as we have this opportunity given to us by voters to serve in government. We still are suspicious of whether everything the government does is necessary. Are we doing things as efficiently as we can? So I'm really proud of the fact that we've got EMS staffing levels up at a really high level. The sheriff's done a wonderful job maintaining high morale. You've got people leaving other departments to go there. And I just want to make a point that we've been able to do that without a tax increase because we've been really creative with your tax dollars. And then this latest investment that we brought forward yesterday it represents the acquisition of 4 new ambulances that will serve across the county. And then our volunteer fire departments serve about 125,000 people in this county. And some of those departments are hybrid agencies, and so some of them do have some paid staff. But it is largely just volunteers, and so one of the ways that I think we can honor their work, we contribute to their budget annually, and we're contributing far more. It's another example of us doing more with less. We're doing much more than we were a few years ago. But by giving them the equipment they need, particularly in some of the really unusual and geographically challenging fire districts, for example, Mowbray Mountain, we've brought funding for them to have a smaller apparatus that could get back down a mountain road. This is just us, I think, doing our job as well as we can, understanding what are the needs, particularly in a community that's got valleys and mountains and ridges and a river that cuts it in half. We need to be in touch with, particularly if we're asking our neighbors to volunteer with the volunteer fire department, we've got to make sure they've got the equipment they need to keep our community safe.
All right, Hamilton County Mayor Weston Wamp, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you all.
Thank you. It's an exciting time for our area, seeing all this growth and keeping up with it. We appreciate your time here. Stick with us. We'll be right back on ARC Chattanooga.